Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the News Tonight, your one stop for the day's top stories. I'm Tracy Shilji and here are the headlines. GDP figures indicate only a marginal impact of the note ban. CSO figures show that economy grew at 7% in the October-December quarter of the fiscal year 2016-17. Day-long strike by employees affects public sector bank operations across the country. ATMs run dry, even as the government's treasury transactions are hit. Campaigning for the remaining phases of elections picks up in Uttar Pradesh and Manipur. BJP President Amit Shah and Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi hold rallies in Imphal. Students and teachers march in Delhi to protest against attempts to check dissent. Minister of State for Home Kiran Rijiju clarifies that statements on college student Gurmehar Kaur were not meant to target her. And Madras High Court calls for video footage from the Tamil Nadu Assembly's floor test held on the 18th of February. Issues notice to Tamil Nadu Assembly Speaker and Chief Minister E.K. Palanisamy, among others. Our top story this evening, India retained the tag of the fastest growing major economy in the world. Data released by the Central Statistics Office showed that the economy grew at 7% in the October-December quarter of the fiscal year 2016-17, despite the invalidation of the high-value banknotes in November last year. The rate of growth in the third quarter slowed slightly from 7.4% in the preceding quarter. The Central Statistics Office, or CSO, also retained the growth forecast for the fiscal year ending in March 2017 at 7.1%. Agriculture and allied sector growth is projected at 4.4% in 2016-17, up from 0.8% last fiscal.
और आंकड़े के हिसाब से जो ग्रोथ प्रोजेक्शन है इस साल का जो ग्रोथ 16-17 का वो 7% से ऊपर है। और जहां तक डिमोनेटाइजेशन का सवाल है, डिमोनेटाइजेशन का जितना हद तक लोग मतलब कह रहे थे कि डिमोनेटाइजेशन का नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट आएगा जीडीपी के ऊपर, उस तरह का कोई नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट नहीं है।
Now, an estimated 10 lakh employees of the public sector banks and some private sector banks were on a day-long strike on Tuesday. The nationwide strike affected banking operations across the country as agitated union members put forth their demands, including fixing accountability for bad loans and criminal action against willful defaulters. The strike was called by the United Forum of Bank Unions.
Banking operations were severely hit by the day-long nationwide strike called by employees of public sector banks. ATMs ran dry at various places as many branches kept their shutters down. Even the government's treasury transactions were said to be affected, import and export transactions were hit, and money market operations were not possible. The union's demands include fixing accountability of top officers over increasing bad loans, opposing labour reforms as well as outsourcing of permanent jobs, compensation to employees and officers for extra hours put in following demonetization in November, early initiation of next wage revision and adequate recruitment in all cadres. They are also pitching for criminal action against willful defaulters.
चीफ लेबर कमिश्नर के सामने मीटिंग हुई, सरकार की तरफ से जो है कोई सीरियस प्रयास नहीं किया गया, क्योंकि जितनी भी मांगे हैं वो या तो देश हित के अंदर है या बैंकिंग उद्योग के हित के अंदर है। उनको लेकर के सरकार की तरफ से कोई संवेदनशीलता जो है आज तक अभी तक दर्शाई नहीं गई।
आज की हड़ताल एक ही दिन की सांकेतिक हड़ताल है। हम चाहते हैं कि भारत सरकार या आईबीए इसके ऊपर गौर करे ताकि देश के अंदर ज्यादा नुकसान भी ना हो सके, लोगों को भी ना इस चीज के लिए कोई असुलियत हो। इस वजह से हमने सिर्फ एक सांकेतिक हड़ताल की है। अपने सारे प्रयासों को देखने के बाद, करने के बाद जब हमने देखा कि कोई और सुनवाई नहीं है, तब हमें अंत में मजबूर होना पड़ा कि हम ये सरकार के खिलाफ, आईबीए के खिलाफ एक दिन की हड़ताल करें।
The United Forum of Bank Unions, which claims membership of nearly 10 lakh employees across banks, has also requested the government for reimbursement of demonetization to banks. Vidya Vikram Singh, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you the latest from the ongoing assembly elections. Ahead of the sixth phase of polling for the Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections on the 4th of March, political bigwigs had a busy day in the state. Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav once again attacked the Prime Minister for his fractured mandate remark, while BSP Chief Mayawati and Home Minister Rajnath Singh also held various rallies in the poll-bound state.
Campaigning for the remaining two phases of elections in Uttar Pradesh, several political parties held poll rallies in the state. Addressing a political meeting at his father Mulayam Singh's constituency Azamgarh, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav targeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his fractured mandate remark. He said those talking about getting 300 of the 403 seats were now settling for a coalition government.
पहले तो प्रधानमंत्री जी उनकी पार्टी के लोग कहते थे कि 300 सीटें जीत करके आ रहे हैं। पता नहीं बहु आते आते तक कहने लगे कि गठबंधन की सरकार बनने जा रही है। और अभी आजमगढ़ शायद नहीं आए हैं। और आजमगढ़ इसलिए नहीं आए कि वो जानते हैं 10 की 10 सीटें साइकिल के संग जाने वाली हैं।
BSP Chief Mayawati addressed two rallies in Ghazipur and Mhow districts. In Mhow, she alleged that the ruling BJP at the centre wanted to end reservation in government jobs. She also urged voters, especially women, to vote in large numbers for the BSP.
कि केंद्र की सरकार ने अपने लोकसभा चुनावी वायदों का अब तक लगभग 1/4 हिस्सा भी कार्य पूरा नहीं किया है और जिन पर से जनता का ध्यान बांटने के लिए अब तक इन्होंने किस्म किस्म की नाटकबाजी भी खूब की है जो आप लोगों से छिपी हुई नहीं है।
Addressing an election rally at Mhow, Home Minister Rajnath Singh expressed confidence of a BJP majority in the assembly. He also blamed the Congress, the SP and the BSP for the backwardness in the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Now, with less than a week left for the two-phase assembly polls in Manipur, electioneering in the economic blockade-hit state is gradually picking up steam. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi addressed his first poll rally in Imphal, and BJP Chief Amit Shah also held two election rallies. Shah reached the tribal-dominated Sadar Hill sector to push forward his party's campaign in the state.
With campaigning for the two-phased assembly polls in Manipur gaining momentum, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi addressed his first rally in the state. Addressing a crowd in Imphal, Rahul attacked PM Modi to reveal the contents of the Naga Accord to the people of the state. He said till date no one knows what is in this prepaid accord. The Congress leader also attacked Modi over Sahara and Birla dairy cases.
मणिपुर के चीफ मिनिस्टर को नागा अकॉर्ड के बारे में कुछ नहीं मालूम था। अजीब सी बात, मैंने कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट सोनिया जी को कहा नहीं, ये बोबी जी को नहीं मालूम। फिर हमने कहा कि देखो सरकार में पूछते हैं किसी से। हमने नरेंद्र मोदी जी के मंत्रियों से पूछा, पता लगा उनको भी नहीं मालूम।
Rahul also highlighted the developmental schemes led by the Ibobi Singh government. He said that only Congress government can fulfill the people's dreams in the state.
मैं चाहता हूं कि ऐसा दिन आए, इबोबी जी अमेरिका जाएं, अमेरिका में वो एक शॉल खरीदें और शॉल पे लिखा हो मेड इन मणिपुर। इस काम को करने के लिए जो हैंडीक्राफ्ट का काम करते हैं उनको सपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा। जैसे देवी जी ने सड़कें बनाई उस प्रकार से उनके लिए सड़कें बनानी पड़ेंगी।
Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi raised direct question against Prime Minister Narendra Modi and he accused him of not fulfilling the promises made to Manipur. Rahul Gandhi assured the people of Manipur that no one can touch the geographical integrity of their state.
BJP President Amit Shah was also in Imphal where he held a rally. While speaking to the people, Shah alleged that the Ibobi Singh-led Congress government in the state was corrupt. He said that the Manipur Chief Minister has only inaugurated half-made projects and has also misused central funds. However, he asserted that the Manipur has the potential to become a model state.
स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं, हेल्थ के लिए जो सेवाएं चाहिए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर चाहिए, अगर वो मणिपुर में उपलब्ध नहीं है, रोड बने नहीं है, मणिपुर के अंदर बेरोजगारी है और मणिपुर के अंदर लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की स्थिति ठीक नहीं है, तो इसके लिए केवल और केवल इबोवी सिंह की एक कांग्रेस पार्टी की सरकार जिम्मेदार है.
For the first time, the Ibobi Singh-led Congress party faces a stiff electoral challenge from its arch-rival BJP in the assembly elections that are set for March 4th and March 8th. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
With that, a quick break here. We'll be back with more national and international news in a bit. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we have in our studio a special guest, Jayant Krishna.
Logistics, retail, telecom, whole lot of agriculture itself. Agriculture may not need new labor, but a lot of upskilling requirement happens. For the new investments which are happening in the manufacturing space, jobs are not happening. Today, if you look at almost 49 to 50% of our population is dependent on agriculture and allied areas. And what does it contribute? Just 17% of the economy.
Watch Executive Director of NSTC, Jayant Krishna, articulate on Skilling India in State of the Economy on Rajya Sabha Television.
Gyan Chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue, symbolized by the ladders, rewarded, while the vices shown by the snakes are punished. Each square, in turn, also narrates some message of wisdom.
Faceless BJP and overexposure of Prime Minister in Uttar Pradesh. Do you believe BJP is again taking that kind of a risk?
The overexposure of the Prime Minister is not necessarily something which the BJP should regret.
This round of elections probably is going to be a referendum on Modi government's demonetization.
In the electoral rhetoric, demonetization is gradually fading into the background.
Prime Minister Modi, are we going to see him as a pro-Muslim man?
You will not see him say that I am pro-Muslim.
Watch To The Point with author, commentator and Rajya Sabha MP Swapan Das Gupta only on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more national news now. And hundreds of students and teachers of Delhi University, Jawaharlal Nehru University and Jamia Millia Islamia held a protest march demanding what they call their space to debate. The protesters were mainly students of left forums like All India Students Association. Police were deployed in good numbers to prevent a rerun of the clashes that were witnessed between the ABVP and ISA last week outside Ramjas College.
Students and teachers in Delhi on a march to save universities from what they call the onslaught of the ABVP and curbing of dissent. Slogan-shouting protesters from Delhi University colleges, JNU and Jamia Millia Islamia, holding posters, marched through the roads of North Campus towards the Arts Faculty building. Most of them belonged to left fora.
You have a situation where one organization today is trying to impose its ideological positioning. Since they cannot do it with reason, they are resorting to violence and terror. That has to be opposed by any Democrat. And I think what Gurmeher has done was a big service to uphold the basic constitutional values of the Republic of India.
Earlier, college student Gurmeher Kaur withdrew from her social media campaign against the ABVP after allegedly receiving threats from members of the RSS-backed outfit. Minister of State for Home Kiran Rijiju also clarified his statements on the controversy.
एक जवान बच्ची हैं, कॉलेज में पढ़ती हैं, उनका अपना एक फ्रीडम है, उनका अपना सोचने का एक तरीका है, उनको लेकर के कोई विवाद का विषय बनाना ठीक नहीं है, वो बच्ची हैं। मेरा सिर्फ ये जो वामपंथियों को कहना है कि आप लोग जब भी हमारा कोई जवान शहीद होते हैं तो आप लोग जश्न मनाते हैं, और आज आप यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेज में जाकर के लोगों का, हमारे जवान लड़कों लड़कियों का आपको गुमराह करने का कोशिश करता है, ये ठीक नहीं है।
क्या बोलने की आजादी के नाम पर देश को तोड़ने के अभियान चलाया जाएगा? कश्मीर को आजाद कर दो, बस्तर को आजाद कर दो, भारत मां के टुकड़े होंगे, और जो बात कही जाती है जेएनयू कैंपस में, अब वही स्वर डीयू में कहने की बात हो रही है, तो ये हम ठीक नहीं मानते हैं।
The police registered a case of sexual harassment and criminal intimidation against unknown persons in connection with the rape threats against Gurmeher. Supporting Gurmeher, the Aam Aadmi Party led by Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal demanded action against the ABVP for allegedly triggering violence on the campus last week.
जिन लोगों ने भी ये मारपीट की है, उन लोगों के खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई की जाए, उनको गिरफ्तार किया जाए। जिन लोगों ने भी राष्ट्र विरोधी नारे लगाए, उनको गिरफ्तार किया जाए।
Senior party leaders also made a representation to Delhi Police Commissioner Amulya Patnaik in support of Gurmeher Kaur.
The cyber crime cell of the crime branch of Delhi Police has registered a case under section 354A and 506 of IPC and section 67 of the IT Act, and investigation has been taken up.
Gurmeher Kaur, a Kargil war hero's daughter and a first-year English student at Lady Shri Ram College, is at the center of the controversy after she expressed her opposition to the stance of the RSS-backed Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad last week. She protested after the cancellation of an event involving JNU student leaders Umar Khalid and Shehla Rashid triggered clashes between the ABVP and left-backed ISA last week. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The funeral of Indian engineer Srinivas Kuchibhotla, who was shot dead in a possible hate crime in Kansas, United States, was held at his hometown in Hyderabad. In fact, dozens of people gathered at his last rites. His body was flown in late on Monday from Kansas, where he was shot in a bar by an American Army veteran. In fact, it was an American Navy veteran. The government of Andhra Pradesh condoled the incident and has passed a resolution stating that restriction on H-1B visa is not a positive move. Grief-stricken by the loss, Kuchibhotla's family has appealed to the government to ensure that such incidents do not happen again. The White House, meanwhile, said that earlier reports coming in from Kansas were disturbing. Former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, too, called on President Donald Trump to step up and speak out against the shooting. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, hundreds of people took part in a prayer vigil to condole the loss of Srinivas. Alok Madasani, another Indian who was wounded in the shooting, also attended the prayer meet.
The President continues to condemn these and any other form of anti-Semitic and hateful acts in the strongest terms. From our country's founding, we've been dedicated to protecting the freedom of our citizens' rights to worship. No one in America should feel afraid to follow the religion of their choosing freely and openly. The President is dedicated to preserving this originating principle of our nation.
On behalf of the government of Andhra Pradesh, we are extending our deep gratitude for the demise of this young guy, Kuchibhotla Srinivas, and also Sri Alok, who injured seriously in this incident. Really, it is a very bad incident. It should not happen anywhere in the country. On behalf of the government of Andhra Pradesh, we have passed a resolution and sent to the central government that the reduction of H-1 visas is not good on part of the US, and also we asked the central government to remain and send the resolution to the US government also to safeguard the interests of Telugu-speaking persons of both Telangana and Andhra Pradesh.
It's an isolated incident that doesn't reflect the true spirit of Kansas, Midwest, and United States. We are to ask all of you for tolerance of our diversity and for respect of humanity.
And now let's take you through some more national news updates in Nationwide. Convicted AIADMK General Secretary Sasikala Natarajan has replied to the notice issued by the Election Commission over her appointment. In her reply, Sasikala has claimed that while the General Secretary has to be chosen by the party cadres, her appointment as an interim General Secretary was a temporary measure. She stated that the General Council of the AIADMK was competent to make interim arrangements. The notice was issued after rebel MPs of the AIADMK challenged her appointment as the party's General Secretary days after Jayalalitha's death. The Madras High Court has called for video footage from the Tamil Nadu Assembly's floor test, which was held on the 18th of February. The court has issued notice to Tamil Nadu Assembly Speaker, the Chief Minister E.K. Palanisamy and others to produce the video recording on the day of the confidence vote, which was adopted amid unruly scenes. The bench has asked them to file a counter affidavit by the 10th of March. The court's directions came after a PIL by the opposition DMK sought to declare the confidence vote electing Palanisamy as Chief Minister null and void. At least 11 people were killed and 30 injured when a Hyderabad-bound bus fell in a canal after hitting a divider on National Highway 64. The tragedy happened on Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh. The bus driver, who was also killed in the mishap, was drowsy and lost control of the vehicle, is what the police say. Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu and Deputy CM N. Chinna Rajappa have expressed grief over the accident. The Supreme Court has rejected a Maharashtra woman's plea to terminate her 23-week-old fetus on the ground that it suffered from Down syndrome. In its report, the panel of doctors from Mumbai's KEM hospital held the baby that it had chances of survival and therefore abortion should not be performed. The 37-year-old woman from Alibag approached the top court seeking judicial intervention because the law does not allow a woman to abort if her pregnancy crosses 20 weeks. All right, now let's get to some sports news. And India has bagged 2 medals, a gold and silver, at the Shooting World Cup in New Delhi on Monday. In the 10 meters mixed team air pistol event, the duo of Jitu Rai and Hina Sidhu clinched the gold for India, making it the first gold for the country in this event. Jitu teamed up with Hina to finish ahead of Japan's Yukari Konishi and Tomoyuki Matsuda 5-3. In the men's double trap event, Ankur Mittal brought the second medal of the day, winning a silver. 24-year-old Mittal finished second on the podium after he tallied 74-1 behind gold medal winner James Willett of Australia. Earlier at this ongoing World Cup, Pooja Ghatkar had won bronze medal for India in the 10 meters air rifle event. Sports Minister Vijay Goyal then congratulated the team for their wins. And now let's give you some international news updates in Global Buzz. Thousands of civilians fled Islamic State's last stronghold of western Mosul on Tuesday. More than 10,000 civilians have fled the Islamic State-held districts since government forces broke through the city's southern limits on Thursday, seeking medical assistance, food and water. Iraqi authorities say their forces are within firing range of the government headquarters buildings as they push to oust the Islamic State militants from Mosul. South Korea's Samsung Group on Tuesday said that it has dismantled its corporate strategy office following its chief's arrest amid a graft scandal that could bring down President Park Geun-hye. Samsung released a statement saying that the top group executives, including the vice chairman and president, had resigned and that its affiliates would manage themselves independently through cooperation between individual firms' chief executives and the board of directors. People living near a South Korean golf course on Tuesday sued to stop the hosting of a controversial US missile system. South Korea announced that it secretly signed an agreement with the Lotte Group to provide the course, despite coming under growing pressure from crucial market China over the proposal. Hundreds of local people also rallied to demonstrate their protests. A high-level North Korean delegation is in Kuala Lumpur as Malaysia announced it will charge an Indonesian and a Vietnamese woman with the murder of Kim Jong-nam. The women allegedly smeared a deadly chemical over Kim Jong-nam's face at a Malaysian airport earlier this month. The two women will reportedly be charged with murder on the 1st of March. Five Islamist militants in Bangladesh were handed down the death sentence on Tuesday after being found guilty of killing a Japanese citizen. 65-year-old Kunio Hoshi was gunned down in 2015 by masked men. The five had reportedly murdered Hoshi to destabilize the government and the country. Police said the accused were members of the banned militant outfit Jamaatul Mujahideen, Bangladesh. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. From the entire team here, good night. We'll see you again tomorrow.